Qualcast Nation, I won't lie. I'm pretty excited about this episode. We've been trying to line this one up for a bit, but this conversation with Andrew is all things wellness, all things how not just this, not just how to survive, but how to thrive. So, Andrew, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Kwajo. Great to be here. I'm excited
Oh,
for today's talk.
oh, me too, me too. If those that are on video, you can see me uh, with a ear to ear grin because I think Andrew and I have a lot in common. We were just talking a little bit before jumping on, and his his whole approach of trying to create some long lasting but vast impact is something that I think we share in common. So maybe before we dive into a lively, give us a sense of how you got here because your story is actually really interesting, especially in the context. We're recording this during the Olympics are still happening. So let's Andrew, let us know a bit about your background.
Yeah, it was definitely not a straight line path to what I'm doing now. So my background, I was a pretty serious swimmer, was on the USA national team, international medalist, Division One All American at Harvard in swimming, and that really defined me of who I was as a person, as an athlete. I was a swimmer, and it was funny. It was just with a bunch of former swimmers this past weekend. We were talking about how little we knew then of what it actually took for top performance, and
Mm.
that it was just all fitness. We just cranked. The training was probably too much of the time. We weren't getting sleep because you had two practices. You had to get up super early. You still had class, so we weren't optimizing on the rest and recovery. Our nutrition was atrocious. Right after practice, you're eating hot dogs, hamburger, anything, just trying to get the calories in. We never thought about, wait, this is actually the fuel we're going to go later burn. Maybe we need to think about this. We fell into having really good social connection and purpose because our purpose was serving this team, and we lived with each other literally. And like I had a room with three beds, so my roommates, we really lived with each other. And then at practice we were constantly together, our meals were constantly together, so we had this wonderful social connection just by accident more than anything. And then the mindset, I was commenting this past weekend, my best season was my freshman year, when my dad had found this Australian sports psychologist and hypnotherapist, and he got me these tapes. And I went from, I was beating all these guys in practice but not at the meets, to, oh, all of a sudden, I setting conference records and winning the event and becoming an All-American. And then I just stopped doing it. Right, I saw how good the impact was and then didn't stick with the mindset side, which is kind of baffling in retrospect. But so that was my world. I was defined as an athlete, ended up getting an injury, wasn't competing at the same level. So I had to rethink and got very serious with my academics. And so with that, was able to go to law school, did in the US and the UK, got a couple law degrees, found that law was not for me. So after doing the bar exam, went to management consulting and got to do some amazing work with, I lived in Afghanistan, working on economic development for a while, bounced around, did education funding things, really some passion projects. And then in 2012, started my entrepreneurial journey. I had this idea in the vacation rental and Airbnb space that ended up leading to a series of three different businesses that were kind of compoundingly successful. Sold my last one, rented.com, in 2022. And then at the same time, I love to write. So I was writing a bunch of articles for Forbes and other things. I'm like, you know what? I should really write a book. So around COVID, I went, got an agent, we sold the book and published it all around mindset and kind of this journey, this idea of our mind being like real estate, in that it's the one thing we can own, and yet we spend our entire lives renting it because we just give it away to the person who cuts us off in traffic. We give it away to what we're worried about our client or our boss is going to say tomorrow morning. We just give it away, and then we're just trying to get these pieces back at the end of the day.
Hmm.
And so the book is Get Out of My Head, Creating Modern Clarity with Stoic Wisdom. And it's explaining why our brain works that way scientifically. And then it's a series of tools of how do we reclaim that ownership. And so I had that book. It ended up becoming a bestseller. I was doing a lot of speaking. And after I sold the company, I was thinking, do I really want to keep staying in travel when I can have this different kind of impact on people's lives? I would get messages from Twitter, from LinkedIn, from people forwarding, from Facebook Messenger, whatever, of, I read your book this weekend and I quit my job on Monday. People come to the site and
Wow.
say, your book changed my life. And every time I'm like, look, my book did not change your life. You changed your life based on some things that maybe you realized reading the book, but you changed your life. And realizing that I could do that, right? That could be a thing that could be my job. And my now co-founder, Luz America, just phenomenal human being. I've known him for 10 years from the travel industry. He had launched booking.com in North America back when it was a $100 million company 17 years ago. It's now a $140 billion company as he scaled it over nearly 2 decades. And he's a really top performing competitive runner, masters runner. And so we're both these kind of fitness, health, very focused. What are the latest trends? What's the latest research? Following all that's out there. And we said, as we look to move from travel, how could we take everything that we're learning and doing and put that to the benefit of others? And we looked at the health and wellness space and said, well, on one side, health is not really health. It's the absence of disease, and people, oh, I don't have diabetes, I'm healthy, or I don't have cancer, I'm healthy. That is not being healthy. That's just not having that sickness. Being healthy is thriving at a different level than I think most people even can fathom. I had a friend that I worked with at McKinsey who later said, you have no idea how good I am now. I was so subpar. I learned I had a gluten intolerance. And basically for 10 years, it was like every day I woke up hungover. I had no idea because that's just the water I was swimming in. But once I pulled that out, I'm so much smarter. I have so much more energy. There's this next level that almost everybody has in them, but they have no idea because they don't feel it day to day. And that's the idea with a lively.com of saying, hey, we're not trying to tack more years at the end of your life. We're not trying to address when you're sick. There are doctors that do that. What we want to do is help you thrive, live your best possible life today, every day for all of your days. And that's our mission. That's what we're doing.
I, I love it so much because we have spent so little time on how to be optimal. And it's, as you said, you don't realize how crappy you feel or what your potential is because often we don't think about it. Like I'm just thinking and reflecting about your swimming experience. Like I grew up. I didn't play. I wasn't collegiate or Olympian stature athlete, but I played competitive hockey, and we ate. It's like you said, we ate whatever. I'm of that kind of that same era where it doesn't matter what you eat. Calories are calories. There was no thought on the quality of food, the your macros, like in terms of the like fueling yourself. And now I look at the athletes now. I got three boys that are involved in sports, and you think about how to optimally set them up to succeed. It's like we've done a complete 180 when it comes to this concept. So I'm really, number one, excited about this because of it's what we need. But before getting into some of the details, the mindset aspect, we don't on our show. I haven't really dived enough into it. I'm curious when you read that book or listened to those tapes as an athlete that helped you take things to the next level. What were some of the central themes there, and did they overlap with your book, Get Out of My Head?
In some ways, yes, but almost inverse on the relating to the book. So it wasn't until I was at a conference in December of 2020 that I even realized what those tapes in 2000 and 2001 were doing.
Hmm.
I had no idea. These were just tapes after practice I would listen to, and literally they were cassette tapes because that's how old I am. And you just listen to them each day. And what it was hypnosis. And back to most people don't know what living and feeling optimally feels or looks like. It's if we can't see it, a lot of times we can't envision it. We don't think there's a better world because we haven't seen it. We haven't felt it ourselves, right? Seeing truly is believing. And so the whole idea with these tapes and the hypnosis was you got into this state of not sleep, but hypnosis where it opened up your mind to be way more receptive. And you would start envisioning moving, because it was very specific to swimming, faster than was humanly possible. Like just, and so smooth, so easy. It was just, you were living that race and feeling it and seeing it. And so you every day were seeing it. So it was believing. I'm like, wait, I can do that. And I went out in the first race. You're like, oh my God, what is this guy doing? Because for 8 months, I'd seen this. I believe I can do this. From wire to wire, I can just do it. I can Bobby Fink this bad boy. And so that a little bit was the opposite of get out of my head, because it's incepting things to put in your head versus saying, hey, I'm not going to take these outside ideas. It was saying, no, there are some good ideas that we're going to put in there. And they're still your ideas. You're going to own them, but I'm going to steer you to these really positive loops that are going to start telling you stories of what is possible, because you have been getting in your way. Your body can do the things. I mean, golf, what percent of golf do you think is mental versus physical?
Oh, of
Right?
course.
So much of this stuff.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, like this is one of the, I mean, I feel like we're in the same demographic, but we, as athletes in our day, we weren't, there was no psychologist. There really wasn't that element of, I shouldn't say there's no, I wasn't aware of that being a major part of what we do. And now it would almost be a sin not to have a sports psychologist on any organization, sports team. Like, it's so heady. Like, I know hockey the best, right? Goalies. Are you kidding me? You 1 year you're the lights out. Next year you see what's happening. We saw, like, it's such an important element. So give us a sense then, Andrew, and we'll get into a lively in a second here. But because I haven't got a chance to get out of my head, which is my next read, obviously. But what are some of the key principles that help navigate people, like, because I think this is a really important topic in terms of literally getting out of our heads.
Yeah. So depending on the conversation I've been having, I always say, well, here's a good place to start, because it is so personal. But the book is really broken into 3 sections. And it's about the first section, the obvious one, evicting the tenants that are other people. Who are the tenants you're letting live rent-free in your head, right? Like, we can't dictate who walks by our front door down the street, but we do get to decide if we open our door, let them come in and start raiding our refrigerator and sitting on our couch. We can do that with our home. We can also do that with our mind, but we don't. We just let anybody who wants to come by just hop in. And a lot of times they don't know it. The guy who cut you off in traffic, that just put you in a bad mood for the next 2 hours, he does not know you exist. He didn't even see your car, right? Like, he literally has no idea you're out there, but you just handed over your mindset to that guy. So the first section is, how do we deal with that? The section is events and circumstances outside our control. So it might not be individuals, but it could be, weather events, sport outcomes, all these kinds of things. How and why do we let those own our mood, our mindset, and how do we take control? And then the third one is actually the most difficult. And that's different or imagined versions of ourselves, right? The self that we think our parents wanted us to be, the self that we think we should have been or could be. And that voice that's in our head, that's holding us back. And what I do in the book is gets into the science behind why each of these things are true and why these are not new, right? Quoting from Taoism, Judaism, Stoicism, Buddhism, and things thousands of years old. Like, look, these people were dealing with this a long time ago and they had these solutions. And then profiling what that looks like in modern society. So the founder of DocuSign, Bernice King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s daughter, social activists, artists, entrepreneurs, Olympians, right? These people taking these principles and applying them in a modern context and what those results look like, what that path looks like. But then there's such a big gap between reading a book and affecting change. Or you go hear a talk, oh my God, this is amazing. You feel so energetic, and next week looks just like the week before. And so very specifically wanted to make this about action. How do you change? And so every chapter has an exercise with a worksheet of here's the work to do. Because mindset and stress management is not different than physical fitness or nutrition. In that we don't go to the gym for a day, a week, or a year and say, I'm set. I did my physical fitness. Good for the rest of my life. We don't eat healthy vegetables and plants and meats for a week or a month or a year and say, great, it's cheeseburgers and french fries here on out because I did the healthy thing. Like I tick that box. We understand that is an ongoing process that requires work. And mindset is the exact same thing. It requires the same work. And so this is where these worksheets come in. And so there's a free workbook that comes along with it. So say, hey, pull these out. This can be stuff you go back to. And then to make it even easier, I made a custom GPT that I made publicly available on ChatGPT. So you can just do it all with AI, where it'll coach you through the exercises depending on what you're working on.
Brilliant. I personally see the link directly with thriving because, as we alluded to, stress management, mindset all ties into optimal living. I see it as an ICU doc regularly, those that are stressed and what that impact that has on their health. Like I literally seen stress kill people. And so I think this approach could be so valuable to so many of us. I'm curious to hear even just one example of something that we could do on a worksheet. Like I'll give an example. I was listening to a book on stoicism yesterday.
Okay.
And I was having this exact same. I actually talked to my wife about this because, I was like, I love the Stoic philosophy. I feel like this is something that we could all embrace. Like take that adversity and don't be fearful of it and use that as fuel, or use it in a way that could help with growth and look at it as a growth opportunity. But then I was given an example of this of a colleague of mine that just pissed me off. Like just said something rude, and I'm trying to let it go, but at the same time I'm telling myself I want to rip into this dude. I'm like this is, and it's, as you said, it's funny. It's taking up 2 hours of capital in my brain. I'm just pacing and I'm wanting to throw something. But yeah, I'm curious, as an example, what would be how you would navigate that through with one of your worksheets or some of the principles to alleviate that from your bandwidth.
Yeah. So, I mean, in that very specific case, that person did not piss you off. It was your reaction to what that person did piss you off, right? So there's an objective truth of that person said these words, that person did this thing. That is a fact that happened. Then what comes after that is up to us internally. And there's two separate worlds, right? There's the one, hey, this is a one-off thing that this happened this time. So the person cut you off in traffic. You don't know the person, never see the person again, right? And maybe this person's not done this before. They're a new colleague. They just did this thing. In that instance, it's creating a narrative of why would the person do that thing? People don't do things that they think are wrong or bad. So when we maybe go through a pink light, slightly yellow, slightly red, when we do the things, we're like, oh, it's because I'm late to get my kid from school, whatever it is. Like there's a story of, I have a really good reason why I should be doing this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't give that to other people. We only judge them by their actions, not their intentions. And so coming up with a story of, hey, why could this be a good thing to that person? Makes it way easier. Like, hey, they may be rushing. They may have a pregnant spouse in the car that they're getting in the hospital. Like, I don't know their story, but let me come up with a gracious, generous story. And for me, that just diffuses the whole thing. Like, okay, like they're taking care of their thing. If it's an ongoing behavior, right? This colleague, hey, man, this happens all the time. Then it's separating out, okay, this person does, my response to it. What control do I have? I can't change that person. I can't make that person. But what I can do is share the impact of their words or actions on me and maybe others that I see around them. Say, when you do X very specifically, here's how it's perceived, at least by me. And here's the outcome of that. It makes me less likely to want to help you or work with you. I'm sure you're coming from a place, but is there another way to have this kind of conversation or interaction that doesn't result in this outcome? And just because, again, you can't change the person, but you can change how you react and how you communicate, because they may have no clue, or
Yeah.
they may once the mirror's held up, like, oh my God, I could see how that would make people think I'm an asshole. Like, I'm not an asshole. I know, because I know my story behind here's why I do all this stuff. But I could see someone from the outside that this is all they're seeing. That could be what they would take away from this interaction. And that's not the kind of person I want to be. But it's being direct in a loving way, right? Not going of, hey, I'm trying to embarrass you with this, anything. It's saying, look, I'm assuming you're coming from a good place, but let me share with you, when you do this, what the results are. And is that really what you're trying to achieve here?
It's brilliant. It's brilliant because it shifts your mindset to a more compassionate one and a more loving one, where you're less angry. You're gonna be more understanding. And that other point too, Andrew, about folks not realizing their impact. I can't count how many times I've had that conversation with folks saying, like, do you realize what you're saying, or it comes across as X, Y, or Z? And
Yeah.
and then they're like, oh man. I mean, it's happened to myself too, where someone says,
Yeah, because you're a human being.
yeah.
Right? Yeah,
So
it absolutely is.
and am I ever grateful for people to open up and mention these things? So it's a great point, Andrew. Um, I I mean, I feel like I've been keeping people on eggshell a little bit. Alively.com. This when I started to hear about this, to me, I was like, this is brilliant, and I can't believe in some ways that this hasn't been more people haven't tried to replicate this, but this is such a good idea. So maybe give us a sense of what Alively.com is all about.
Yeah. So Lively.com is about enabling and empowering anyone to live healthier longer. So if we think about health, we think about wellness, it's a super amorphous thing, right? Health could be absence of disease. It could be medicine treating sickness, right? There's so many labels that now go around health and the healthcare system that mostly is treating sickness. They're like, is that what health is? Then wellness. Wellness could be a yoga retreat. It could be a med spa, right? Again, very, very vague. So we try to look at it and say, what do people actually care about? And longevity has kind of been the buzz. And we see longevity is two buckets. One, live longer, right? How long you live, lifespan. And the other is live healthier, the health span side through those years. Most people aren't great about planning into the future. And if you go say, hey, let's help you on lifespan, like, I don't know if I want another 5 years from 92 to 97. Like, I see those people and maybe that's not what I want. But if you say, hey, would you like to feel better today? When you're 90, would you rather feel like what you see 65-year-olds feeling like and acting like today? And you say, oh, that sounds pretty good. And by the way, in doing the things you need for that, every day today is going to be better too. Not worse, but better. Okay, well, I like the sound of that. So a Lively is very much around that, this idea of health span. And we love it because there's a clear structure to it. There are 5 core pillars: fitness, how we're moving our body; nutrition, how we're fueling our body; our mindset, how and what we put into our mind; our sleep and recovery, how we rest and recharge our body. And then the 5th one that I think needs the most attention right now, because it's getting the least attention and it's just as impactful and important as the others, is our social connection and our purpose. It's what we put into the world. So when you talked about stress causing sickness, going back and forth, people are starting to get that mind-body connection, right? Of, hey, gut, our microbiome can actually cause schizophrenia. So the body can feed the mind can feed the body in sickness. But there's a third leg to this stool, which is not just mind body all inside this shell. It's how we interact with this broader world around us, because we are social creatures. And I don't think it's an accident with the loneliness epidemic, with people pulling more into themselves and away from faith-based organizations, from civic organizations, from all these things, that we're seeing rises in depression and suicide attempts and all these things. We are not made or meant to be isolated creatures. And so that is a hugely important pillar that we explicitly try to cover and get in there. And so the idea is, hey, it's a marketplace, but not a marketplace of the 2000s or 2010s where it's, hey, we're going to get all the books or all the DVDs, and then you have a search bar and you got to go figure out the entire world yourself. It's saying, wait, our thermostats know what temperature we want it when we want it. Our playlists know what music to play for us based on time of day and our mood. Our beds, right? If you have an 8-sleeper or chilly bed, like they adapt to the temperature we need while we sleep. Why in the world would my marketplace say, oh, just go search the universe, it's all right here? Versus with all the data we're capturing and throwing off, being able to tell us, oh, based on what you've been doing, what you want to achieve, here is the thing to work on. Let me go help you with that until we make that a habit, and then we'll move on to the next one. And so a Lively is very much partnering in a marketplace, in a new model marketplace, to create that curated personalization to help you live healthier longer every single day of your life.
Brilliant. Like it's I love that point too of the personalization. Like everything else, you get fed on what's optimal for you, but your wellness in general, which you of all people, Andrew, knows this can't be a cookie cutter solution for so many folks.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be about what pillar needs to be optimized, and which ones can maybe be compromised a little bit more. But so walk me through the process. So I go on. I'm curious about a Lively. I'm wanting to live a healthier lifespan. What is the process as a consumer? What happens?
Yeah, so today, how the consumer would find a Lively is through our partnerships with what we call health and wellness role models. So we mentioned these 5 pillars. Let's step back. How do most people decide to try something new or do something new? And the answer, sorry?
Sorry, I thought you were asking, but yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, answer. Because the answer is always the same.
I feel like they just go on their social feed and their IG's telling them exactly what that they got to be a carnivore right now or whatever. Like it's just social media.
It's they hear it from people they trust, right? So it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It was your friend that really knew this one area, and they would tell you, hey, you got to try this new product, this new service. It was 50,000 years ago, the caveman to his buddy saying, look, I ate this last week and it didn't kill me. You should totally try it. Right? It was always people you trust or recommending you should try this new thing. You're like, okay, I'll give it a go. This person I trusted. I was just talking to an investor. He's like, oh, I'm different than everybody else because I'll hear it, but then I go run it by this kind of physician and this kind of homeopath and this. I'm like, you just named a whole bunch of people you trust. It's the exact same thing. It's always been the same. That's how humans are. They go off of people they trust, which could be the algorithm. It could be someone you specifically follow. And so we partner with these people you already trust. You already follow them. Because you say, hey, like you, Kwajo, I trust this guy's healthy living. I trust the things, the research he's doing, the N of 1 test he's doing. I trust what he's doing. And so we profile these people not just on the pillar where they're typically known, right? So we have the fitness freaks that put amazing workout videos. Like, great. How did you get into this? What's your favorite workouts? What kind of at-home equipment do you have, or what do you travel with? But you must also think about how you fuel your body. Are there any supplements you take? What brands do you use and why? Do you supplement with protein? Are you getting enough? How do you think about rest and recovery? What's your sleep routine like? What's your sleep hygiene like? What is each night or each morning like around that? And so we profile them across, and then we create custom pages for them where we can bundle that together so that people who say, hey, I trust this person. Lively, never heard of it. Not sure I trust them, but I trust this person. And here is them on video talking about here's what I use, here's why I do it, here's the impact of what I do. And so that's how you would find us typically as consumers. You're already following someone you trust. They're talking about, hey, here are the things I do, and you can get all of it at alively.com. Check out my page.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Because this is essentially I feel like this is what I do already. I have a handful of people that online I trust. Some of them I've met, some of them I haven't met. Rob Wolf, as an example, I'm a big fan of Rob Wolf. Huberman, I've been into a lot of his stuff. Peter Attia, a lot of like everyone with especially tying with the longevity stuff. Yeah. But yeah, you're always curious to what they're doing themselves to try and to live optimally. And to know,
I go back to, the Black Swan guy, Nassim Taleb.
Oh yeah.
So, he always has this line, don't give me investment advice, show me your portfolio. I don't care what you say, I care what you do. Where's your money? And this is the same of, hey, don't tell me what affiliate partnerships you've worked out. Tell me what it is you use and do.
Yeah. No, it's true.
I want to see your portfolio. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Because, it was actually what I was listening to on the Stoics. Ironically, in the Stoic book I was reading or listening to was, it's about your action. It's about what you do in so many ways, not what you're saying. And I think, I'd like to think a lot of people in that are of influence, walk the way. What's the expression I'm trying to say? Walk the talk.
The talk.
Yeah, walk the talk. I mix metaphors horribly all the time, but yeah, walk the talk. But there's no guarantee of that. So, what are some of the, if you're comfortable mentioning, Andrew, like some of the influencers that you've been excited about to see join Alively?
This is the beautiful thing of it's opened my eyes so much. So I had this whole series, whether it's yoga instructors, so people that I found during the pandemic when I couldn't get out, and I started following them, to lymphatic massages, to now health coaches and metabolic coaches that were dancers. And so I'd be asking, like, how do you know? You say you just kind of decide what to do that day in the gym. Mm-hmm. Well, how do you know what you should be doing? And consistently, these dancers, these yoga teachers, all this, they say, well, I listen to my body. So, listen to your body. So as a distance swimmer, right, I race for the U.S. in 10-kilometer, 25-kilometer races. These are going to be 5+ hour races. So much of my life was turning off that signal from my body to my mind, right? You didn't want to hear the noise because you had to fight through it better than anybody else. And so this has been this huge learning process. So people like Nicole Wilde, Lauren Sabataro, the lymph girl, they just opened my eyes to, oh, wow, there's this language I probably knew as a child, but I haven't spoken it in so long. I'm going to have to relearn that language. I got to go back to studying that language. So for me, those have probably been, Alex Ellis is another one that just have really helped me on my journey around that.
Wow. I can't wait to dive into this because I feel like there's just so many gems in here. I'm curious also then, Andrew, what's either in any of the pillars in the last, say, year, in the calendar year, that you've adjusted, pivoted, added to, that has made a difference in your own world? Because I'm getting a glimpse of your life here. You're obviously an entrepreneur. You're having to wear a lot of hats here, and you're running this amazing company. I imagine you get pulled in a lot of directions, and so to live that optimal life, sometimes it's hard when you're busy. So yeah, I'm curious.
Living that life, right?
That's right. I love it. Yeah. What in the last year, say, has made a big difference for you as well?
Yeah, for me, it is that fifth pillar, the social connection and purpose. And so this is something I think I was more blind to right? For like I was saying early on, for me, health was fitness, nutrition, sleep, that could all come later. It was fitness. And then you start learning some more about nutrition. Then you start learning some more about sleep and recovery. Then stress management and mindset. But the social connection side, I didn't have time for that. Right? If I went to the gym, I deliberately put headphones in saying, I'm here to do work. I don't care if you want to be my friend, whatever. I have X number of minutes to be here. I'm going to get my physical fit and I'm going back to the office. I'm going to crank work. This is the focus. And then I started understanding the research better, understanding the science better. Say, oh, wait, this isn't this side project. This is on par and on even with fitness and nutrition. Is this social connection purpose? I need to think about this. So how did I change my day to day? Well, now in the gym, I don't wear headphones. I've made a bunch of friends, right? You take them off, have conversation. Maybe, oh man, I took another 25 seconds rest between those sets. That's okay because I'm making this social connection that has meaning. I live most of the time in Bermuda, would swim in the ocean every day. I don't have to commute. I just go down to my dock and I'm swimming. There were friends that would constantly, hey, we swim at lunch. You should come swim with us. Blah, blah. No, 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 because that's going to take me however long to get there and get back. And it's not going to be as good of a workout as if I just do on my own. Realizing, no, there's value in doing that and getting and the laughs that you have between sets and mixing it up. And so really deliberately cultivating that social connection and purpose for me has been huge. And I mean, back on the purpose side, moving into this business, right? All my other businesses, there was a tangential purpose, like this bigger thing of, hey, if I do this, it's going to help this other thing kind of down the line. But they were capitalistic endeavors, right? Like you're building a company doing this. Whereas what I'm doing with the Lively, I'd be doing this anyway, right? This is how I would spend each day. This is the number of people asking, hey, can you just give me your nutrition routine? Hey, can you tell me your workout? Like I keep spreadsheets of all this just to share with people. And say, hey, and that's where you don't have to be a Huberman or a Tia to be influential or be a role model to someone else. Like sometimes the most influential or role model-esque person is a person you personally know. You say, hey, I know where we started and I know that we've since diverged and I want to get closer to what that person's doing on social connection. Or, man, they really seem to manage stress better than I do. I wonder what their practices are. What could I learn from them? And so that creating a platform to enable that kind of sharing and that kind of visibility and that kind of insight is can't imagine a better way to spend each day.
Oh man, this is you're creating magic in so many people's world, and I must say too, Andrew, that's the one, especially during the pandemic, that's the one lever, the connection piece that I feel was sacrificed to a certain degree. I mean, we were lucky in some ways because we had to go to work. We were together. We had a purpose. So there was some tons of fulfillment there. But the idea of, especially many of your close friends, no one wanted to see you, right? And now you almost lose that muscle. You were talking about some of these areas where like the mindset that you have to exercise. I feel like the connection muscle too is something that atrophies if you haven't seen people in a while. You get used to being more isolated and so to get back into it, as it sounds like you've been doing a good job of creating the environment for it. But that's another one I think I think many of us over the last couple of years anyway needed to try and optimize for sure.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things on that front. I was having dinner with a friend last night and making this exact point of, look, inertia is a powerful force in both directions, whether from lack of movement or once you have forward or backward motion. And in any given instance, it will be easier to sit on the couch and watch Netflix. That's always easier. It takes less energy. Like I'm tired, but you know what? That's not the life you want. Life is lived off the couch. Life is experienced off the couch with other people and building those memories. So just kind of pushing yourself, even with what I know. There was this Christmas party last December, and my ex-wife, it was rainy, it was dark, we were going through a time. I was like, I just really don't feel like it. She's like, no, you need this. You need to go. And even what I knew, I was like, okay, I'm going to trust you on this. And I went, And it was the best night of them. I had so much fun. It was hard to pull me away. I just talking to people is so wonderful. And we can know these things intuitively or intellectually, but acting on them is not always natural. Sometimes you have to do things that are overcoming that initial hurdle to start building that positive inertia in your favor.
Absolutely. Oh man, Andrew, this has been an absolute joy to talk about this, and once again, I feel like I'm talking to, I'm gonna mess up my metaphor again. So kindred spirit or whatever the term, but yeah, I really appreciate you coming on and talking about the amazingness of a lively. So why don't let us know how we could connect with you, where people could get Wall Street Journal bestseller, Get Out of My Head, all these things. Where can people connect with you?
Yeah, so connect with me. I'm most active on LinkedIn. It's under Andrew McConnell. Same Instagram is Andrew McConnell. A Lively's mostly under I am a lively. So the idea like, hey, I am a lively dad. I am a lively yoga instructor. I am a lively surfer or grandma, right? Like see yourself in this life, living that life. What is that life you're trying to live? But that's on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, etc. And then my website, mandrewmcconnell.com, and I'll have the links out. You can get the book on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, any place that good books are sold.
You heard it here.
And for those that like listening, there's Kindle and there's Audible as well, so you can get the audio versions as well.
Perfect. I don't know about you guys, but I am definitely a listener. Andrew, thank you again for joining us on the show. This was awesome. And look, I know this won't be the last time we connect, my friend.
Absolutely. It was wonderful, Kwajo. Thanks for having me.